Hello and welcome to my review of Beyond Atlantis 2. New worlds await you in this adventure game by Dreamcatcher, the Adventure Company, and something called OmniSync. This game starts you off in a Egyptian-styled desert area surrounded by conveniently placed spire cliffs. And the beginning of the game just has you walking around pretty empty areas. Come up to this guy with a gun, and he'll kill you if you talk to him more than once.
Who are you, anyway?
Not your business. Leave now.
Come across a buddy who's here to help you. Except he's not. He doesn't really matter. He just kind of disappears shortly after this encounter here. I think his name is Waku, but I just made that up. Who cares? He's gonna disappear in like 5 minutes. This game was made in 2001. So I think for the time this would have been pretty cool. These graphics would have been pretty nice. The resolution's really small, but for the most part it didn't really affect my experience. It still looks fine. It's also called Beyond Atlantis, so this really wasn't the landscape and theme and setting that I was, expecting or hoping for. Although on the back it says you explore the Sahara Desert, Siberia, and ancient Egypt. So I just got to see one of those areas and then something not listed that you're about to see, which can't be described. So you enter this cave, and then there's this portal, this Stargate, you might call it, to another realm. So you saw this kind of like really weird puzzle where she happens to have the parts to make a top. For some reason, she has that. Maybe that has to do with the last game. This is the sequel. But she just knows to spin this top on this like weird, carvings on the ground, and somehow this top makes stars appear, and then you form the star David. I didn't really understand it, but each one of those icons represented a different star, and it would go in sequence from each star every single time, so you want to get the last one first, and then it'll go backwards until you got the first one. Because if you didn't do that, it would delete every star that it hit. So you start with the last one, you go to the first one. It was an alright puzzle. You just have to wait for it to go through that path every single time. So you wind up in this tomb, right? That's what this is, I guess. And I was stuck here for an embarrassing amount of time. Just kind of wandering around. There's this Eye of Horus just sitting there. I think that's what it's called, I don't know. And you can spin it in 2 directions. And I was like, confused, because there was nothing else. There's nothing else in this room. And then you find, on the other side, you find like this little diagram. It took me a while to figure out that the top part tells you which way to turn it. Left, right, right, left, right. You'll see that here. So, it's like Skyrim puzzles. Except, it's just the Skyrim puzzle. I was not too happy with this puzzle. It just shows you a solution. I guess you kind of have to like look around the environment a bit more, but once you see it, you're just like, oh, that's not a puzzle. It's just showing you what to do.
Huh?
And then I was still stuck because, of course, these games can never be just simple. Like, the game wasn't telling me, hey, you can't go up these stairs.
Look at the state of
Which,
you.
that's all it needed to do. It needed to be like,
Fiddler and
I
ramble.
can't make it out.
Who are you?
Or, I don't think I should leave here yet. Although that would be weird
You should feel
and
honored.
abstract.
Psychopath.
But yeah, just like have the
Does that mean
the
you
exit
strangle
be
me or
closed.
suck my blood?
Because I thought something was messed up. It's an old game, so sometimes you're just like, oh, maybe the game's glitching out or something. No, I just missed one tiny thing, and I was stuck here for like 10 minutes looking for a
Where does the
pixel to click on the
passageway lead?
ground. Not to mention the menus are horrible. I don't know what it's representing. It's like these weird sci-fi... I don't know what to call them. And yeah, just navigating the menus, you have to scroll over top of every icon to see what that icon even does, because they're just colored
You'll have to
buttons.
give me a clue.
There's no need for these
May
crazy
come back to me when we
complicated
get there.
menus. It's a menu, man. It's meta. It's supposed to be meta. It's just to get us into the game.
Being disillusionated.
So you see this really cool looking dead dude just kind of pop out of this coffin once you figure out the little star puzzle, Skyrim puzzle thing. And they have a cool little conversation. This is the first time you really have like it's the first time you really have an extended conversation with someone, and I thought it was cool. You click on pictures to talk about different topics.
Surely you remember something.
I think that could have worked, but I didn't know what these pictures were. They're kind of small, blurry, low resolution pictures. I feel like just showing the dialogue choices would have been better.
What do I do next?
But still, I kind of like the back and forth, and the graphics are pretty good on them. Really uncanny on her, like she looks real-ish, whereas no one else really does.
There's a scarab beetle.
So he explains to you that you're in some sort of illusion world, a challenge, and that he's there to kind of guide you through it. So
Well,
it's interesting. It's kind of explaining that this is the tutorial to see if you're worthy of the game, and if you fail, I guess you're not, and then you just don't play this anymore. So that's cool. After I talked to him, I got lost again because there was a little pixel on the ground I mentioned that I didn't pick up. And there's a scarab he gives you. That's not super well explained. It's just there to like be a scarab in a box. So I eventually picked up this bird statue. And what do you think that's for? I didn't know. But, you walk over, look around, you're like, okay, nothing utilizes this bird statue. And so you just, of course, use it to fly out of the tomb. Right? Like, that's what you do with the bird statue. And so you fly out of the tomb. There were stairs. I don't know why they didn't just take the stairs. But bird statues are the best form of travel. So you get outside. It looks kind of cool. There's a eclipse going on. I don't know if they've seen an eclipse. It's like total darkness in an eclipse. Like, it's like nighttime. Because, right, the whole sky
what's this world?
is shrouded in darkness. But it still looks cool. The landscape is kind of just more desert.
Well, you see,
So he has this boat, and it flies, and you take off. He talks about rebirth, but he also can't remember anything. But don't worry, his memory, it'll get jogged real quick. So you walk into this temple. It's pretty cool looking. Walking in is pretty impressive. And you walk up to Mr. Golden Statue Man. Also looks cool. I don't think the voices really work on anyone except the dead dude. I kind of get the main character. I kind of get her writing's a little cheesy, but I think this guy's voice is terrible.
he is dying but cannot die.
So he just tells you what you need to do. We need to bring a feather so that the pharaoh may die. and that's so this bird thing will bring his soul back and be reborn. But if the feather is too heavy or too light, he doesn't get reborn, and that's going to be important later.
I take it you know my personal psycho.
You ask him a bunch of questions. He doesn't say anything. I think that's cool. That makes him seem, you know, ominous. He's just standing there, not answering any of your questions. I don't know. I like that part. I guess it is kind of divine. Because it's not being cryptic, you know. He's just ignoring you. It's like, why would he answer any of your stupid questions? You're supposed to figure it out yourself, right? So the next part of the game is you have different areas around the pyramid, the temple, where you can explore and find different pieces of a puzzle to find the feather and to bring Pharaoh back to life. So to kill him first and then bring him back. So that's what I wound up doing. And this part was a super mixed bag. I had some issues that I don't think were my fault, because I definitely did the right things. I just didn't do them the way the game wanted them done. And that started to get real frustrating. So you wander over to this room that has an Ankh. And that's the symbol that summons the dodo bird or whatever that's going to bring the Pharaoh back to life. And that was pretty self-explanatory. And then you wind up in front of this cool-looking person. I really like their design. I kind of like the gold mask thing. I think that's like very intimidating. And their whole thing is that you have to put together this story. And this is probably my favorite puzzle by far. So you're given a bunch of pictures and a bunch of descriptions. So the descriptions are each part of the story, and you have to put them in order. And you have to put the pictures in order. So I decided, of course, you need the context first before the pictures work. So I went ahead and just started looking at every single one of those little tablets to see what each of the story pieces were. And then once you see all of them, you can kind of like puzzle piece it together. Well, this sounds like the beginning of a story. This sounds like the end of the story. And then, yeah, that was actually a really good puzzle. I had a lot of fun with this one. This is also one of those first aha moments. Earlier, we saw this kid who couldn't get any fish because all the fish were dead, because the world's dying, because the Pharaoh can't die. And so so what's his face, Mr. Psycho Freak, who's ferrying you around everywhere, he tells you, looks like he just needs some good luck. That's pretty on the nose, because when you get this amulet, this lady's like, here's an amulet of good luck. I imagine the game gets way harder later, but yeah, it was one of those moments where I was like, okay, well, this is the first quest done, I guess. So I went back and gave him that amulet of good luck. He gives you an icon. And this is where I started having issues. So for like the next 15 minutes, I'm just desperately trying to figure out what's next. I have these scales I picked up. I can't for the life of me figure out where they go. Pay attention to where I'm clicking, and clicking very furiously, I might add, because that's going to matter later. I'm clicking everywhere. I'm using every item on everything. This is the last area that I haven't like figured out. It's just this little temple, and I have, I believe, all of the items I need to figure it out. Because I just need the feather, the stupid feather. And so I wind up just kind of going everywhere, all over again. Like maybe I missed some stupid thing on the ground, like these games tend to do. No, it's not that at all. Like, I'm not joking. I spent probably 15 minutes straight trying to, like, and just spam clicking on everything. And then at this point, I've already clicked on everything and on everything else. You know, I've tried every item I have on every point of interest that is on the map, and I'm just spamming it and spamming it. And then the icon I click there doesn't work. And then I click slightly below the point of interest. Oh my gosh. So it opens. And I get a bunch of feathers. So here, right away, I like get the scales. And I'm clicking on this point of interest over here because I'm like, that's what the scale's for, right? But nothing happens. I'm clicking where the point of interest is. It's showing me right there that it's right there. So clicked on the scales. Like first thing in my head was like, okay, now I need the scales to weigh the feather. Didn't work. So I did it the hard way. And this is where I just got really frustrated with this game. So you could, in theory, just test every feather, right? So that's what I did. That's what I did. The pharaoh died again. And again. Because I couldn't figure out which stupid feather was heavier than his soul. And eventually I'm just like, oh my god, okay. Maybe it won't even give me the right feather unless I figure out stupid thing. Like, I don't even know what I'm figuring out. Because, like, I have the scales. So I tried clicking on the scales and then clicking on the feathers when they're in the box. That didn't work. And then finally, I go back and I click on just the slightliest differentest spot on the stupid scales. Like, wandering around, looking around, just like, what do I do? Take out the scales, click the same spot again. Oh, it goes there. It goes on that particular area of the stupid thing. But there's a point of interest spot to the right, which I didn't realize until after I solved all of this, that point of interest spot was one of the scales. You see the scale on the right? That's what that point of interest was. So it had a point of interest for an item that wasn't placed on the map yet, and that totally threw me off. Why? It turns out the turquoise fucking feather was the next feather. And that was the next one I was going to try anyway. I don't know if you had to do this first before any of them worked. But I was like, well, the turquoise is really nice color, so maybe that's the right one. But go back, I put the stupid feather on the stupid thing. I've seen this guy die like 4 times. And then, yeah, there's this cutscene, he is reborn. And then it just kind of like, things just go right back to gameplay. Which I don't like. I don't like having something major happen and then it just starts you right back off, like gameplay just picks right back up. Like, I prefer, like, if something big happened, maybe time skip me a little bit, make me feel like that was a major event, teleport me somewhere else, but now it just picks up right where you left off. And I got this golden scarab now. It only took me a little bit to figure out that I needed to take it to where the Ankh was. And I actually felt pretty good about that. I was like, okay, cool. That makes sense. So it takes you out, back to the cave you were in. Because the tutorial's done, right? Like, hey, you could solve puzzles and figure out that just because there's a point of interest doesn't mean it's the right point of interest. So you walk out of the cave, you see this Mr. Bad Guy. He's here. I guess all this stuff belongs to him. he's figuring this stuff out. She just wants to leave. That's a great hero, by the way. Doesn't care. She came here for the same reason he did, and she's just like, you know what, I just want to go home. I don't care. I don't care about your stupid experiments. I don't care about what any of this is. I came all this way to Egypt and went through the trials just to go home. I don't want to be here. So he produces a crystal skull, and he's like, this is the skull of power. Look into this crystal skull. And so you look into it, and you enter like brain land, neuron land. I don't know. Now at the beginning of the game, I could have swore every time you transitioned to a new area, it was animated. And then it just stopped working. I don't know if that was a bug, but it instantly teleports you. And in this area, that's the worst, because it is just a mess of up and down, left and right paths, and it's super easy to get lost because none of them look different. So you're just wandering around this stupid like labyrinth, and there's bubbles, and none of them do anything until I find just the right bubble to click, and it takes me into this hall of doors. And you open the door, you get a real bad feeling, because this is where the puzzles just turn to ass. So I mess around with these stupid doors. You go through a door, it takes you to a different room full of doors. Great puzzle. There's no clues, nothing changes, all of them are the same. It's just generic fever dream thing. And so I did this for a while, and eventually I found some Crystal Dolphin, who's very cryptic. Crystal Dolphin says you can find the secret, but he can't find the secret.
He is not the one to carry the secret.
He cannot carry the secret. I don't know what the fuck.
In time and space, from without and within.
He's from time, space, and far, and there's a secret in the skull.
One who will carry
And you're the one who's ready
you are
for the
needed,
secret.
and you are ready. Seek beyond.
So, yeah, and then you go back. The guy tells you that whatever you see in that world, you forget when you leave, which I guess means he doesn't have the secret. So that's it. So the only place I can go is back to the stupid room of doors. And the dolphin's like, take a left and then take the third door on your right. And I do that. And then what? Like, what's the puzzle? Am I just supposed to brute force it? I was given no clues. So this game was frustrating up until this point. And then while searching the room, so I just started trying patterns. She said first door on left, third door on right. So I did first, third, and then last door on left. And so I did first door, third door on left, last door on right.
The corridors. Begin by
And the
passing
game
through
crashed.
The first door on your left, then the third on your right.
And I hadn't saved for a long time. So that was the end of Beyond Atlantis 2 for me.